let's demystify themes. If you've ever spent hours trying to get it looking just right, but something goes wrong, or everything was fine for months, if not a year, and then something goes sideways on you and it takes forever to figure this out. Hopefully, I want to demystify themes and help you get Obsidian looking how you want it to look without having to be a scholar in computer science or getting your hands too dirty with coding. So I want to go through how to change themes and some of the best themes that I've run across, and then explain why they have some personality quirks that can be really frustrating if you don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. And I want to do this in a non-technical way so that somebody like me, an artist, a business owner, can wrap your head around it quickly without having to get a degree in computer science, like I said. So this is for you if you want to get your Obsidian dialed in and enjoy looking at something that you probably use all day, every day. So that's why I'm making this video for you. So stick around to the end and I will point you in the direction of some more resources that you might be able to make use of. But for now, let's jump in. Back into the YouTube vault we go. And just like all my previous videos, this is a completely stock theme. This is basically how it comes. And now we're really going to monkey with it. But also, in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I just want to start off by showing you what you can do just from this view without really doing anything else, which I didn't know about for a really long time. And if we're talking about themes and making it look like how we want it to look, because we're going to be looking at it so much, you can drag and drop different modules anywhere that you want, really. You can make them bigger, you can make them share the same space, and you can toggle between them, and you can have entire documents open here. I like to keep bookmarks here and maybe the file directory there, but really bookmarks is what I look at the most on the side panel over here. But let's talk about changing the look of your theme. And the easiest way to do that is to go look at what themes are available. And in order to do that, you go to Settings and then go to Appearance. And here's where you can go down the rabbit hole. This can eat up so much of your time, and hopefully I'm going to save you hours of your life by going through all of this. But basically, the base color scheme, you've got dark, light, or if you're one of those peculiar humans that uses a time-sensitive operating environment that is light during the day and then turns to dark mode when the sun goes down, you can say adapt to system. So if you change your system to be light, Obsidian will turn light as well. Or if you go to the dark side, Obsidian will go to the dark side. But for me, I like to keep it as dark. And the accent color is basically anywhere you see this purple show up, that's it. In my own personal thing, I really like this kind of toxic yellow. I don't know why. Maybe it was the G.I. Joes I grew up with and the toxic vipers from the Cobra Commanders troops. I don't know, but I really like this combination. And then the fonts, this is where you can get wild with it as well. As a graphic designer, I've owned an agency that builds websites and promotional materials for entertainers, and I've got so many fonts, it's not even funny. But if you have a favorite font, you can install it to your system, and then Obsidian will use that font to use for its interface or for your writing or for code. That's what these are. And if you don't know where to go for that and you want to just spend a lot of time, well, you can go to Google Fonts, and then you can browse to your heart's content, and you can use these filters. And then you can see what it's going to look like in the words that you are going to be using. So you can talk about how big it is, all languages, or if you want serifs on it, which are those fancy doodads, or you don't want those fancy doodads, you can filter by all of that. And then you can go through and then get font, and you can download the whole family, install that font, and then it'll be there for Obsidian to use. So basically your interface font, that's all the font that we're looking at here. All the text is in the interface font. So if we wanted to make this railway and click save, so you saw the subtle change in all the words here in the interface, got a little bit cleaner. That's what railway does. And you can get rid of it, and then it goes right back to what it used to be. Or if you want to really notice the difference, we can use a serif, and voila, now it looks all fancy for us. So if you want to change the look of the words used in the interface, that's what this interface font is all about. Then the text font is basically when you are making a new document. Font example here, and we throw in bacon, and we've got all of this outlined. If you want to change this font, this is what that is. So the text font, we can change this to Georgia, and now we are fancy writer people, right? Or if you are one of those monospace kind of folks, so monospace font is used mainly for coding and snippets of code, and if you're a hardcore coding person, you already know what monospace is. But basically, it's that kind of computer interface, console-looking terminal font. But I actually like using monospace for my everyday writing. And pro tip, my absolute favorite monospace font is Berkeley Mono. In fact, I actually bought Berkeley Mono to use for the license. That's how much I like it. So basically, you can make any kind of text, whatever font you want, and you can drag and drop its hierarchy. So basically, Obsidian will check, hey, is Berkeley Mono installed? Can I use it? Yes, I will use that. If for some reason Berkeley Mono is not there and it can't find it, okay, I will then go to Georgia. If I can't find that, then I will use the system default. So this is how it handles text and those kinds of fonts. So now you can see all of our text here is Berkeley Mono, which is what I prefer. I really like that font. And then you can change font size. If you don't read good, you can't see all that well, then you can make it as big as you like and reset that back down. And you can also enable quick font adjustment, which you can, I've got the trackpad. So if I zoom in and out with the trackpad by pinching like this, then it'll change the font size just like you were changing picture size. Or you can hold down Control and then scroll on your mouse, and that'll change it. So if you need to zoom in on something, get a screenshot, and then zoom back out. You can enable that however you like. And then show inline title. I'm not going to go through all of these options. I would just highly recommend that you play with them. But basically, the ribbon menu is all this stuff over here on the left-hand side. And if you get used to using the command palette and keyboard shortcuts, like I strongly suggest that you do, then you won't be using these very often. So you can just delete most of these and clean up your workspace, which is pretty great. And there we go. But now let's dive into the wonderful world of community-made themes. So we go to manage, and you can choose only show me dark themes, because I like dark themes. I don't even bother with light themes. So why do I want to even see themes that are only light? I will never use those. I don't even want to see them. So let's look at dark themes only, of which there are 208 themes. And let's see how many are installed. One, which is the default, which I rolled with for a long time. But basically, you've got all these options. And I went with 80s neon for a while because I love the kind of vaporwave feel of this and the glowing text and headings. It's pretty great. And you can install it and all this stuff, right? But we're kind of skipping ahead of where I wanted to be, but it's already begun, which is the frustration of understanding why these themes are the way that they are. So let's just go ahead and dive into it, because, I think that I should be able to go through and then, okay, Obsidianite, okay, got it, yep, simple. So I want to install it, and there it is. It made our whole Obsidian Vault look a little different. Just not that much, but the heading here, the file name, there were some subtle tweaks done that aren't overt. So maybe you like this kind of subtle thing, but it's definitely a different theme, which I like. But it's kind of strange that the accent color that I do want is not showing up for this theme. So I don't like that theme doesn't respect my choice of accent color. So I don't like that theme. So let's go find another one. How about, Cybertron. Install and use. Okay, yep. Cool aspects. All right. Yep. Dark mode only. Bold words. Yep. Seems like it's pretty easy. So we install it. It is currently installing, and I like how hideous this is. It's a little difficult to read because there's not that much spacing around these modules, but I'm not going to be in here all that often. Once I set it, I'm going to forget it, so it doesn't bother me all that much. But as you can see, it's very clear that this is the file that I'm working on, and then this is the file. So there's a very clear delineation with this tab, that this tab goes with this file, because the theme before was too subtle. I couldn't see that this was this document and that tab was this document. So I like a little bit more contrast between what that is. Then the sidebars kind of fade into obscurity, and we can hide those. And now we've got the whole thing working for us. But as you might have noticed, on the default, the text filled the entire width. Like, let's go back to those themes. And now that we've installed a couple of themes, if we want to switch between them, we don't have to go to manage and then reinstall or anything like that. Just hit escape. We can quickly go through our installed things. And let me see where that went, because editor, readable line length, there we go. So if your text is full width like this and you didn't want it this way, it could be that the theme you installed prefers wide width, and what it did is it toggled readable line length off or on. So I like to have it on so that it's here even if I don't have these sidebars open. I prefer to have it clean and my text only here in the center. So if your text does that, that's why. That's where to find it. But back to installing the themes and why they misbehave sometimes. All right, so I like this, but I'm not a fan of the blue text. All right, so let's go back to manage, and these are filtered in order of most downloaded, and the default is number 1 because it comes that way, and then the second most downloaded would be minimal, and strangely enough, that's the one that I use because I want a theme that has as little to do as possible. I don't want it over-engineered. We'll get into why here in just a little bit, but basically minimal is my favorite one because it comes with built-in dark themes and light themes. So basically, instead of you having to figure out how to make all these changes, it has kind of decided to make some of the defaults as presets that you can decide and then make small changes to those elements that you really care about and then make those changes easier to make. So I'll show you what that looks like here because we install and use it. And there we go. Hey, look at that. It is respecting my accent color, so that's already nice. And it has a pretty easy explainer on how to use it. But there are a lot of elements that I don't ever even use, like focus mode with image grid and image width. I don't even play with that. I use a very, very minimal setup of minimal. But as you can see, here's an important consideration. Minimal includes support for dozens of popular plugins like Calendar, Kanban, DataView, CalDraw, all that stuff. So let's take a minute to talk about that. And in order to do that, we've got to go back to the late 90s when I was in high school and I learned about this thing called HTML and how it is used to write web pages and websites. And back then, you had to hard code every page. And if you wanted your logo in the corner, you put your logo in every corner. And then if you wanted to change the logo, you would have to go into every page and change it. And that is the challenge of having a static website. It's faster because it just loads the HTML and the image and boom, you're done. However, it's very frustrating because when you start getting 20, 50, 100, 200 pages on a website and you have to go in and change the image on every single one of those, it gets to be very frustrating. Well, along came programs like Dreamweaver that would do all that hard code for you all at once. So it's using a computer to do that repetition so that you don't need to, and that was a lot better, but it's still not great. And then along comes a content management system like WordPress, And instead of using static HTML web pages, it's now using dynamic languages like PHP to use a framework, and then all the data lives in the database, and then the front end goes and asks for the elements that it needs and then puts it there when you ask for that web page. So now your logo lives on the database one place, and then the web page asks for it and it gets put there dynamically. So then all you have to do is change the logo in the database, and now every page on your website that might need that logo is updated because it is dynamically getting it and rendering it where it needs to go. So that was a massive improvement. And then somebody gets the bright idea of, hey, let's do that for the look of a website. So we're not even going to hard code that this heading will be red. We will now just say all headings are H1 kind of heading of a particular class, and we can call it something like fancy heading or whatever you want to call it. So now every heading that has fancy as part of its identity of what it is, now there's another document that defines how all the elements of your website should look. And that is called a cascading style sheet. So now all of your elements, your images and your photos and all that kind of stuff lives on a database. And then all the information about how the text should look lives in the CSS. And now the front end framework is putting all that together to render how your website should look in real time. Okay, what does any of that have to do with Obsidian? Basically everything, because Obsidian is a loose framework that presents your Markdown files to you in the way that you want them to look. So that's really what these themes are. They're kind of like CSS for your thin wrapper of Obsidian that is presenting your information to you the way that you want to see it. So, since Obsidian is kind of an open source project, anybody can build on it. And when they're building, they can build whatever they want their way, and they don't have to take into account how everybody else is building what they're building. So that's why this sentence is so crucial. Minimal includes support for dozens of popular plugins like Calendar, Kanban, Data View, Outliner, Excalidraw, that kind of thing. Because the creators of Calendar may not talk to the creators of Excalidraw. So when you pick a theme, that theme also has to take into account how Calendar has decided to style what it does and what its classes are called, because maybe their headings aren't called fancy, they're called time-bound or whatever. It could be anything. Now the real challenge happens when Calendar calls this heading this thing, and then Outliner has that same term for styling their own thing, but it's different. So now you've got two of the same element in your database, but two plugins are calling it different things. I didn't know that those reactions were still here. I don't know how to turn that off. All right, anyway. So now you've got two plugins competing over the same namespace, the same classes, calling it the same stuff. And Obsidian may not know who to listen to and who it shouldn't listen to. Or Obsidian does just fine, but your theme may not know who to listen to. Or the plugin tries to wrestle control out of the theme's hands into its hands because it's a very particular kind of layout and it just won't work any other way. So that's why you sometimes will find that your theme does not play well with your favorite plugins. It's because it's an open source project and developers don't need to talk to each other to get their thing out the door. And that's why sometimes your theme will glitch out and just won't look right. Okay? So that's a long way to say that this is really cool that Minimal goes the extra distance to try to accommodate the most popular plugins in order for you to have a unified visual aesthetic to make sure that Minimal theme looks the same no matter what plugins you're using, no matter how you're using your database. Okay, so that's what this is. All that I just went over is what they're trying to get across in one sentence. All right. So now, instead of plugging it in, installing it, and going, you could just use it the way that you saw, but this installation is really important because it says to install the theme, open settings, appearance, click manage, and use Minimal. So we already did that. Scrolling back up, we did that by installing and enabling. So we've already done step one. So we've already done step one by the time that we scrolled down here. It's to install the companion plugin. Wait a minute. Okay, so now not only do I need to install a theme, this theme now needs a whole ass plugin in order for me to use the theme, which was kind of janky at first in my head. I get it now, but also I can appreciate that before you have your head wrapped around it, it doesn't make any sense. So let's do it. The idea is that we are looking for Minimal Theme Settings plugin. So I'm going to hit Command C to copy that. We've installed Minimal, so that's cool. It's enabled. But now we need to go to Community Plugins. Then we have to browse Community Plugins. Then we have to search for Minimal Theme Settings. And it looks like it is installed. I might have left it installed from when I was kind of pre-walking through this. But basically, you install it like any other plugin, and you install, you enable it, and then you can go to the options. And now, what they're doing is giving you push-button control over a lot of CSS on the back end. So instead of you having to know a lot of code and know where to put the code and all that stuff, the creators of Minimal were like, you know what? We like code. I know that you, Jonathan, really like buttons. So we're going to make a whole plugin that is going to be between the theme and what you like. So now you can go through and choose a whole bunch of buttons to push, and you can make it look however you want. So that's really neat. However, it does introduce extra layers of complexity, because if you like Obsidian for how simple it is, the more of these plugins you're using, the more dependent you are on them, the more brittle your database is going to be, because there are now more things that have to talk to each other and have to work together in order to work properly. So for every one of these that you're adding in,
yes, it looks better, but it's also going to be more frustrating in 6 months when something updates and now there's a conflict when there hasn't been one, and just out of the blue, it just doesn't work. So your mileage may vary. This may not bother you at all. I do want it to be on your radar so that you can remember this moment a year later when something goes janky. You're like, oh, right. It was that dependent plugin that I had to install for my theme to work the way that I got it to work. Okay, I get it. I know where to look. Because it doesn't make sense in my head that in order to fix my theme, I have to go to my plugins, because plugins to me extend Obsidian's functionality, not change how it looks. But you get what I'm saying. Okay, so now there are pre-built extra themes within the minimal theme. It's kind of like, yo dog, I heard that you like themes. We put extra themes in your theme. And if you've got light mode color scheme, you can choose any of these light modes. And then background contrast if you want high or low. And then basically the same flavor but for dark mode. So you can go through and choose all of these different things. I love how hideous this one is. I can't use it because the interface is just so goofy. Like, look, there's no clear separation. I kind of like a bento box interface so that I know what is this and what's that. So I can't use this e-ink version. I typically like Dracula flavored themes, but you can go through and pick whichever dark mode you like best. And you can, I like rose pine. That's kind of cool. And then you can do low contrast where it's all kind of middle gray, or true black where it's like OLED display mimicking, but I like default, a little bit extra contrast. And then you can tweak a lot more of the interface elements here. So colorful headings, if you're using a whole bunch of different headings, you can see that they're all different colors. So that's what that is. So there are all sorts of things that you can play with inside the minimal theme. So you can turn on the image grids. I don't, because I use the active preview. I don't like switching between editing and then reading mode. I just use active preview. And at least last time that I tried it out, the image grids kind of thing just didn't work. And if you embed a lot of iframes, for example, if you watch a lot of YouTube, hello, and you want to save this for later, and you copy the iframe embed code and paste that into your note, you can show like, all right, should it be wide, maximum, or 100% pane width? And this is changing how Obsidian handles iframe width back again in the CSS, but here they're just giving you these drop downs, which is really cool. I like this a lot. So you can define that for tables and images and iframes and all that kind of stuff. Then you can get even more granular with the text and fonts and that kind of thing. So that's the plugin for minimal, and then you get it dialed in, and there you go. This is the thing. So that's an overview of that one. I want to show you another theme that does this, but even more so. And there's a hint of it right here, which is the capuchin. I don't know why it's called that, but this theme is kind of a callback to, we go to here, manage. Let's dark themes only. Annupuccin. Here we go. Install and use, and then scroll down. So this theme is so robust. It comes with a preface, and it's kind of a disclaimer. And look, please do note that I've made this theme for myself, and it may not fit your use cases. So I like that it starts with, listen, I'm not making this for you. You can use it, but this is for me. It's for the way that I think. So props to this guy. Like, I totally get it. And then there's a whole drop down for installation. If you like working in the terminal and you want to do it that way, well, here are the terminal commands for it. But just like Minimal had its own built-in themes, so does this. And it also has extended color schemes and layouts and rainbow folders. This helps you over here, kind of behind this over here, you can see that they're all kind of the same color. So rainbow folders add colors to help you differentiate one folder from another, which is kind of cool. Then you can go in full tilt and change what those colors are. So if you don't like a rainbow motif, you can do muted pastel, like whatever you want. You could do bright, obnoxious colors. You can make it your own, which is really neat. And then just you can change the call outs, and basically every element you can change. But this is really nerdy and awesome because if you use checkboxes often, which I do for packing lists. Anytime I go on a trip, I have a packing list template that I drop in, and basically you can have empty checkbox, you can have checkbox filled in, that's it. This guy just went wild with it and created a whole, I think it was him, maybe not, but basically there are even more things that you can use in these checkboxes, which is kind of cool. So let's copy all this and then see what happens when we paste it in right here. Okay, it doesn't respect it. Okay. Anyway, so now, just like Minimal had its own plugin for Minimal, there's a style settings plugin that is not specific to Annupuccin, but is useful. So let's go to Appearance or Community Plugins, Browse, Style Settings, install this, enable it, then Options. Now you can open Annupuccin's graphic user interface options to change the theme look from inside the plugin. So it's the same kind of idea, but it's all here done for you. So you can change the dark themes and frappe. I like mocha old. Let me try mocha new. All right, cool. Dark theme accent. You can change it to pink, mauve. So these are all very subtle, understated things. But Rosewater, I want to change what Rosewater is. So color overrides down here in dark mode. Let's call this that super obnoxious yellow, and click save. And there we go. It's called Rosewater, but it's that hideous yellow, and now we've got that hideous yellow back. Haha, which is awesome. And now you can see that all these colors, now Rosewater is toxic green, which is fantastic. So you can change all of these colors for the dark mode and the light mode as well. So you can do all that stuff that you want. And then integrations, you can change the look of your Kanban cards. You can hide the menus. So now you've got your theme has a plugin that's giving you control over the visual elements of other plugins. So it's kind of multiple layers of inception going on, but it's really powerful. It's incredible. You can dial it in exactly how you want it. But if you didn't know that that's what this is and this is how to set it up, it's very frustrating, very challenging to figure out. So now you know how it all thinks and why and how to get this going. Now you can change source editor font, live preview editor font. You can type in the family there and it's all done. And the headings, enable custom heading colors. You're like, sure. Instead of having those colors from minimal, you can enable your own custom colors. So now you could have custom font for each heading that you want. You could have H1 be Railway. You could have H2 be Berkeley Mono. You could have H3 be something else. It's wild how specific you can get. And there is a question of should you spend that much time on your theme? And I don't mind it. Me, I tend to get it dialed in how I like it and then leave it that way. So I use this all the time. I'm looking at it. I want to be able to understand what I'm looking at. So I like getting a lot of the major features the way that I like it and then leave it alone. And to me, that is different than spending a lot of time on, say, a dashboard that I wind up not using all that much. And we'll get into that at near the end of this video. But basically, I think it's time well spent getting your theme dialed in how you like it. And that's it. So then you could also change your canvas from, if you like doing mind mapping and that kind of thing. I've got a whole video about Canvas. You can change how Canvas looks, or PDF viewer. You can look, there's so much that you can do. And if you like it, you can support the project, buy them a cup of coffee, and that would be fantastic. So this is what I really wanted to show you. I can't forget about this. Enable custom checkboxes. I do want to enable that because that is the setting that's hidden in here that enables you to do all these cool things. I hope that we'll be able to see here. Yeah, okay. So now we can say, all right, that's checked off with the X there. And then if it's important, we can put an exclamation point in there. And then if it's rescheduled, you can do that. So now there are a lot of other ways to use the checkboxes instead of is it done or not. Now it can be a kind of a visual element with all these different things. So there are all these options. Ooh, Speech Bubble 6. Let's see what that one looks like. So if you're a fan of, I guess my computer doesn't have that font or whatever it is, idea. Let's see what that looks like. All right, light bulb, neat. So this is just a really neat thing that you can enable with a variety of themes, and there you go. But as I was saying, when it all comes down to it, I don't spend a lot of time in my theme editing. I go to appearance, I go to minimal, and then I go to the minimal theme settings, and then I pick Rose Pine. And this is pretty much how how it looks. And I believe that the setting plugin from the community style setting enables you to do a lot of those extra checkbox things. It's somewhere in here as well. So that's another element, is that there are multiple places where you can make the same change. So it's kind of like, all right, where's it hidden? Which is why I don't really like doing this a lot, because it takes forever. It takes forever to find where this is. So minimal theme settings, colorful window frame. Nope, but what is that? Okay, I kind of like that. So now all these elements are that toxic yellow. That's kind of cool. And then underline links, image grid, map width. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. But now might be able to, there we go. So minimal in somewhere, for some reason, the way that it works with my computer is, you noticed, Annupuccin, this slash didn't work right, because it should show it in progress instead of that it's done or not. Now with the slash, it shows it halfway done. Or I can show that it's been sent to somebody else. So yeah, there's still all these ways to use these. So that's why I use minimal, accent color, respector. I tend to get rid of a lot of the visual elements, and then I build out a workspace, and I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. But this is what I wanted to show you with themes. I know this is a lot, but hopefully it can be the only one that you need to spend your time on to understand what's going on behind the scenes, why your plugins sometimes can be fine for months, but then suddenly have some kind of conflict between your theme and why there's a plugin and snippets and all the stuff. Like that's it. Just pick something simple, make the major changes that you like, and then get back into using this incredible program to create cool stuff that you put out into the world. So that's it for this. I want to get back to the good camera to talk to you about the last minute details.
I wasn't kidding, right? That was a lot to go over, and hopefully you got something useful out of it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. That will tell YouTube that more people like you need to check this out, and also to let me know that this is the kind of thing you'd like to see me make more of. And if you have any questions or ideas of other videos about Obsidian that I haven't made already, put them in the comments. I read every single comment. I don't have an assistant that does that, so if you leave something, I'm going to see it. So that's the best place to drop any ideas or questions you have about how you can get something done using one of the best programs on planet Earth. And since you're spending so much time getting your theme dialed in just right, I also want to save you a lot of time from building something that you're not going to use. And that is a dashboard. So if you use dashboards, or you've heard of it and you've been thinking about building one, or you've never heard of a dashboard in the first place, I think this video that I'm about to put up here will be the best one for you to watch, because I make a strong case for why dashboards aren't worth your time and what to do instead. And it's something that's pretty simple, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it. So go ahead and check that one out. And while you're doing that, remember, if you can change your mind, you can change your life.